All right, today I'm going to talk about like a link to Huberman's Labs. It's the hubermanlab.com. And so this one I'm getting into to kind of cover over our sleep, which is part of like pillar number 4, which is recovery. So sleep is probably one of, if not the most important thing when it comes to not just with your training with lifting and or cardio or even yoga. It's indication of overall health as well. So for instance, if you constantly get shitty ass sleep and everything, you're going to see negative influences on your life, both mentally and physically and everything. So Andrew Huberman was at the Athlete X Live event as of this recording last year in 2022. Of course, by the time this goes around and everything, it'll be a couple of years. So he was actually one of the speakers at the Athlete X event. So that's one of the things why I'm big on the Athlete X conference, is because you get a lot of speakers there that know what they're talking about. So with this one, it is a .com source. So you're going to want to in a sense double check with other sources as well. But having listened to Andrew Huberman, and he's a scientist who studies sleep and everything. So you can vouch for him in the sense that he's a scientist, but you also, like I said, with this one being a .com, you also want to double check stuff and everything. So Brad Schoenfeld's another big name in the research and everything. So him, Alan Aragon's one for nutrition and everything. So these are big names in the industry. So even though they're big names and everything, like I said, with it being a .com, this one pretty much takes you right to all Andrew Huberman's content and research in his in a sense podcast or whatever that he does, where he's talking about people, and it gives a brief description on stuff that on how important sleep is. It also gives links to the podcasts or interviews and stuff that he does and everything, so you can actually listen to what he has to say and everything. So also for instance the harvard.edu links I've shared, you want to kind of double check with something like that, just in a sense to verify with this being a .com as well. So with the whole concept of sleep and everything, you're not he gets into not only get good quality sleep, but a sleep hygiene, making sure your environment is good and everything. So talks about maybe lowering the temperature in your room, because down to maybe instead of 70 down to maybe 68, because that couple degree temperature it would be beneficial and everything. So he gets into stuff like that, and also in a sense using screen time before you go to bed, that blue light exposure, because for instance our eyes tend to can't differentiate between blue light from screens and the sky and everything. So with that, the blue light exposure, especially at night with the screens, it kind of tricks our brain into thinking it's still daytime and everything. So he also gets into stuff like that to limit our screen time. I'm pretty sure he said 90 minutes before bedtime. So if you're for instance if you're going to bed at 10 o'clock, you want to cut off screen time by 8:30, so that it gives your body enough time to naturally kind of degress into that sleep mode and everything. And another thing on the flip side, when you're getting up and everything, one of the things that he talks about is foregoing caffeine and with coffee and stuff for the first 90 minutes, so your body can in a sense naturally wake up with the circadian rhythm that it's in. So it's with our modern society, it's kind of really hard to do stuff like that, because we're so inundated with technology and with coffee and and teas and stuff like that. So it's something that we have to be cognizant about and be oh hey, look, maybe I get up maybe half an hour early, and I forego that cup of coffee for an extra hour after. So instead of having coffee with breakfast, I wait to get to have my coffee when I get to work. So if I get up at 5 o'clock and I don't have to be to work until say 8, I wait until say 7:30 to pick up my coffee on the way to work, instead of just when I immediately wake up and start chugging the coffee and everything, to kind of forego that caffeine, so your body has that natural circadian rhythm where it can wake up and go to sleep on the flip side, like I said, with like the blue light therapy or blue light exposure at the end of the night and everything. So like with Andrew Huberman, like this is, like I said, this is like a link to like a hit, which I'll leave in the comments. It's all about like with him, it's all about like getting into like making sure we have like the utmost quality sleep, because like even if you have like one shitty night of sleep, you can usually feel like next day you kind of groggy, you're a little sluggish or something, but you make up for it the next day and you have good night's sleep, you actually do feel better and everything. So like the big overarching concept with sleep is you want to be as consistent as possible. So like you want to be going to bed at this at or around the same time. You want to get up at the same time, so that way like you can get used to like get that circadian rhythm down and everything. So like for instance, like my work schedule for like the past couple of months or so has been like 11 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. So I've been getting up at like 7 a.m. I have like a good like 4 hours before I go to work to kind of get into like a morning routine, making sure I can I get some reading in, I get my strength training workout done before I have breakfast, and like I have enough time to kind of get going and get on with my day before I get to work and everything. So now that's ending as of yesterday, so as of this recording, so I had to go back to like the usual 7 to 3:30 shift. So my like schedule is going to be changing. So like it depends on like how like your lifestyle is too. So like you might be working second shift, so like you might be working say 3 to 11, so you didn't get home until like say midnight. Maybe you have that half an hour where you can unwind and everything, so you're not getting and then you get to bed at like 12:30 or so. You maybe you want to set an alarm for maybe like 8:30, and then like that way like you constantly get like that consistency of like going to bed at the same time and getting up at the same time. So you like I said, with the circadian rhythm, you can have that natural rhythm and everything. So or like you could be like me and where you work in the first shift, and be on the flip side where you go to bed earlier but you're also getting up early. So and of course like it's the same thing goes like if you're working overnights on third shift, you kind of have to get into that like natural rhythm of like when you sleep and everything. So there are times that like I did work third shift like years ago, so like I'd work 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. I get home and like I'd pretty much like get home, walk my dog, and I'd be in bed at like 8 o'clock in the morning, and I'd sleep to 4 p.m. So it's to get in that system of getting consistent sleep, because like when it comes, especially when it comes to your training, like with like lifting, especially like most people think is like when you're going into the gym, that's where you're doing all like you're making all the gains and like making all the progress and everything. It's actually the reverse. What you're doing in a sense is putting your body through stress when you're going to the gym, and like you're putting like a more load on your body. So that way like in a sense you're breaking your body down, and then when like you go to sleep, that's when you're actually starting to build, because like it's like kind of that switch where like, oh hey look, we just went through like the stressor, now we need to like recover and build ourselves up from that. So like using the typical like a bicep curl, like you sit there and you're doing like 5 pounds or whatever for say like 10 reps when you're first starting out, and then that next day like your arms are like totally sore and everything, and then like you're recovering while you're sleeping and everything from that, and you're actually like your body's building up like muscles to your bicep to be able to curl more. So like I said, you start off with 5 pounds and maybe you do 3 sets of 10 and everything. A couple weeks later you're up to say 15 pounds doing like 10 reps and everything, because like your body's like getting put under the stress, and then when you sleep your body's like, hey, we need to start repairing and everything, because we just got like all these this muscle broken down, so we need to send like stuff there to help build it up and everything. So that's why sleep is so important, is because like when you that's like in a sense where you're recovering from the stress that you put your body in, and then it's just not lifting, but you can also cardio and everything. So when you're running, like you may be able to only like run say like a mile, and like you do it in like 10 minutes, you're huffing and puffing. It's the same kind of concept with sleep. Like when that's when you first start out with sleep, as you progress and you recover with the sleep and everything. by the third or fourth week, like instead of huffing and puffing for after a mile and doing it in like 10 minutes, you can maybe do it in like 7.5 minutes, and like okay, this is a lot easier. So that's is pretty much one of the biggest reasons why, like at least on the physical end, is why sleep is so important. And on the mental side, like if you don't get enough sleep and everything, it can lead to like negative behaviors, negative emotions, and like you're and pretty much like you could end up being like a short fused and snapping. Everyone knows like or has been in a situation where someone has that short fuse and snaps and gets angry and kind of pissy and stuff. Now it's definitely not the begin all end all for like the mental health, with being able to like get your emotions and behaviors under control. But it does help in that like you're able to not like be as fatigued, and so that way you have like a better control over it. So like now this is where stuff like the CBT techniques I went on, like when I was covering like the chapters for smart recovery, techniques like that can also benefit you when in conjunction with great sleep and everything. So as like I said, as like before, I'll do the link, I'll put the link in the comments and everything, so people can go and check this out. And like I said, like with this being a .com, even though Andrew Huberman is someone who knows what they're talking about, you want to double check with other sources as well with being a .com. So like it's always good to double and triple check sources and everything, even with edu and gov sites and everything, so that way you have multiple reference points and everything, so that way you can like, oh yes, okay, I got 3 things that are saying the same thing, so there must be something to this and everything.